They say parents love all their children equally. But what they don't tell you is that love can feel very different when it's unevenly shown, especially when it's hidden behind smiles and Sunday dinners. My name is Danielle Brooks, and I've spent most of my life wondering what I did wrong to be born second. Growing up in a modest suburb outside of Cincinnati, my family looked picture-perfect on the outside. Dad was a high school teacher with the dry jokes and khaki pants to match. Mom ran a local craft shop and had that gentle, Pinterest mom charm everyone adored. And then there were two daughters, me and my younger sister, Allison. Allison had golden curls and dimples. I had frizzy hair and acne. Allison loved gymnastics and glitter. I liked books and quiet. I was the serious one, the one who did her homework on time and kept her shoes by the door. She was the wild spirit who left messes and excuses in her wake, and somehow, every single time, she was the one who got praised. When we were little, I chalked it up to favoritism in the way kids do. I remember winning second place at the school spelling bee in 5th grade. I was so proud I could hardly breathe. Mom barely looked up from her phone. But when Allison painted a crooked rainbow at art camp a week later, Mom hung it in the living room like it belonged in a gallery. I stood in front of it every morning, brushing my teeth and wondering if maybe I just wasn't as interesting. But childhood grows into adolescence, and favoritism doesn't always fade, it sharpens. By high school, I was maintaining a 4.0 GPA, working weekends at a local bookstore, and saving for college. I applied to NYU, my dream school, and when I got in with a partial scholarship, I thought this would finally make Mom proud. Instead, she blinked twice and said, "Wow, that's a lot of debt. Don't you think something local would be more realistic?" I felt my stomach drop. Not because of what she said, but because I expected it. Somewhere along the line, I stopped thinking she would ever be proud of me. That hope had been replaced with this numb understanding that whatever I did, it would never measure up to simply being Allison. When Allison decided to attend a state college 2 hours away, the family threw her a going-away party. Balloons, cupcakes, the works. When she dropped out the following semester, saying she was burnt out and needed a break, my mom welcomed her back like a war hero. "She's just figuring things out," she said. "She's brave for knowing what's not right for her." Meanwhile, I was working double shifts to cover rent and classes. No one offered a party for my perseverance. No one asked if I was burnt out. I used to think maybe Mom just related to Allison more. Maybe they were more alike. But even in moments where I needed comfort, Mom's love came with disclaimers. When I had my heart broken at 24 by the man I thought I'd marry, Mom asked, "Well, do you think maybe you came on too strong?" When Allison's situationship ghosted her a few months later, Mom made her hot cocoa and called him a coward. It was subtle. So subtle that if I said anything, I came off as bitter or jealous.
So I didn't say anything.
I carried it, quietly, heavily, like it was mine to carry. And I started pulling away. I'd skip family calls, offer polite responses in the group chat, show up late and leave early during holidays. At first, no one noticed. Then one day, Mom casually asked, "Is everything okay with you, Danielle? You've been kind of distant lately." Distant? I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. "I've been here all along. You're the one who's been distant. You're the one who only turns toward me when my absence becomes inconvenient." But I just nodded and said, "Yeah, just busy." What else was I supposed to say? Allison wasn't evil. That's what made it harder. She wasn't the bratty little sister from TV dramas. She was bubbly, charming, and sometimes even supportive. She wasn't the problem. The problem was how invisible I became next to her. It wasn't about sibling rivalry. It was about a slow, lifelong erasure, like I'd spent decades auditioning for a role in my own family and never made the cut. I told myself it didn't matter anymore, that I didn't need Mom's validation, that I had built a life of my own apartment, a good job, real friends who saw me. But no matter how far I got, there was a child inside me who still whispered, "Why not me, Mom? Why didn't I ever feel like I was enough for you?" That whisper was about to become a voice that would shake our entire family to its core. Because this time, I wasn't going to be quiet. Not anymore. It was supposed to be just another Thanksgiving. The kind where you pretend everything is fine because it's tradition, where you smile through conversations that sting and pass the cranberry sauce like your heart hasn't been quietly bleeding for years. But this year was different. Mom sent out a message 2 weeks in advance. Hey, everyone, let's make Thanksgiving a potluck this year. Bring your favorite dish, red heart, maple leaf. I stared at the message for a long time. It felt like such a small thing, but it made me flinch. Because I already knew how it would go. I'd spend hours cooking. Allison would breeze in late with a bottle of wine and a story about how Mercury retrograde almost made her miss the exit, and Mom would laugh like she was the funniest person alive. Still, I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe this year would be different. Maybe this time, someone would notice that I was trying. I made my lemon herb chicken, the one people always asked for at office potlucks. I added roasted Brussels with balsamic glaze, cornbread pudding, and even an apple crisp from scratch. I arrived 15 minutes early, set everything on the counter, and tried to breathe through the tightness in my chest. 10 minutes later, Allison floated in like a lifestyle blogger in a cashmere wrap, holding a bottle of rose and her phone in selfie mode. "Happy Turkey Day," she chirped. I brought a vibe. Mom swooped in for a hug like she'd just returned from war. "You always bring the best energy, honey." Not a single glance at the food I'd carefully plated. I watched as they took selfies in front of the fall centerpiece, candles flickering, laughter echoing. Dad offered me a polite nod, then went back to slicing ham. No one even asked what I'd brought. Dinner started like every year, long grace from Uncle Phil, awkward jokes from Aunt June, and Allison dominating the conversation like a podcast guest on her own show. She went on about her wellness coaching journey, how she was working with a brand to promote holistic skincare, and how the universe has been showing me signs lately. I tried to jump in just once, to share that I'd been promoted to senior analyst after 5 years of grinding late nights at a firm that barely acknowledged women. I got 2 words in before Mom interrupted to ask Allison if she was still going to that cute candle shop with the healing rocks. It wasn't even malice. That's what made it worse. It was complete, casual disregard. I sat there, nodding, silent, watching my apple crisp get passed around without a word. Allison's rose got called the perfect touch. My chicken went untouched. And that's when something inside me, something quiet and patient and good, snapped. It wasn't anger. Not really. It was grief. Grief for every version of me that tried so hard to be seen and still felt invisible. Grief for every childhood moment I'd swallowed and filed away under, maybe next time. After dessert, I helped clean up while Allison disappeared into the living room with Mom. I overheard laughter and the soft buzz of another Instagram story. I felt like a stranger in my own family. I left early, using work as an excuse. No one protested. On the drive home, my vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. When I got home, I sat in the dark for a long time. My phone buzzed, pictures of pie, gifs of dancing turkeys, hearts and leaf emojis in the family group chat. Something inside me whispered, "Say it." And this time I listened. I opened the chat and typed, my fingers trembling. Deleted. Retyped.
Paused.
Then I let the truth spill out, one breath at a time. I want to say something that's been on my heart for years. I've stayed silent to keep the peace, but peace that comes at the cost of being invisible isn't peace at all. Mom, I love you, but your favoritism toward Allison has cut me deeper than you know. It's not just about dinner or birthday texts. It's years of being overlooked, unheard, and unvalued. I've spent my life working hard to earn your pride. But I now realize I was chasing something you already gave freely to Allison. I'm not sharing this to start a fight. I'm sharing it because pretending hasn't made it better. And because silence has only taught me that my voice doesn't matter. But it does. I do. And I'm done being the invisible daughter.
I hit send.
Tossed the phone on the couch. And for the first time in years, I exhaled. I didn't know what would happen next. But I knew this. I had finally chosen myself. After I sent the message, I sat on my living room floor in the dark, surrounded by the smell of leftover lemon chicken no one ate. I expected my phone to blow up, but for a while there was nothing. Not a single ping. Not a single typing bubble. Just silence. At first, I thought maybe I'd broken something. My family wasn't confrontational. We were Midwestern nice, where problems got folded into casseroles and awkward silences were covered with weather updates. For me to name something so raw, so deeply buried, it was like throwing a match into dry leaves. Still, a part of me hoped someone would understand. That maybe, just maybe, someone had seen it too. I went to bed with a pit in my stomach. When I woke up, there were 23 unread messages in the family group chat. My hands shook as I opened it. The first reply was from my Aunt Tricia, Mom's older sister. She was always polite at gatherings, never one to cause a stir. Danielle, thank you for your honesty. I've noticed what you described for years, and I regret not saying something sooner. You're incredibly brave. I'm sorry you've been made to feel this way. My breath caught. I didn't even know she noticed. Then my cousin Mariah chimed in privately. Girl, that message hit me hard. I've always looked up to you, but I had no idea you felt so alone in the family. I thought you were just strong. I'm really sorry.
Strong.
That word again. It always sounded like a compliment, until you realized it was code for, we assumed you didn't need anything. More replies rolled in, quiet support from people who'd never spoken up before. But the message that floored me came from someone I hadn't expected. Dad. Danielle, I should have said something a long time ago. I've seen the imbalance. I didn't know how to fix it without creating tension, so I stayed quiet. That was wrong. I let you carry something I should have protected you from. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I blinked, rereading it. My father, emotionally reserved, always neutral, was finally seeing me. Still, one name was missing.
Mom.
The woman at the center of this, the one I had loved through every ache and quiet rejection, hadn't said a single word. I refreshed the chat. Nothing. 5 hours passed. Then 8. That night, I sat curled on my couch, clutching a mug of tea gone cold. My stomach churned with regret. Had I gone too far? Would this unravel everything? I wasn't trying to humiliate her. I just wanted to be heard. Then, finally, at 11:42 p.m., a notification lit up my screen.
Danielle. I don't know what to say right now.
I didn't realize you felt this way. I always thought you were okay. You were always so capable. So self-sufficient. There it was. The strong thing again. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel less loved. That was never my intention. Maybe I related to Allison more because she struggled out loud. But I realize now that doesn't excuse the way I may have overlooked you.
I'm going to sit with what you said.
I hope you can forgive me. I never wanted you to feel invisible. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't immediate absolution. But it was something. I sat with her words, reading between the lines. Mom didn't admit fault easily. But this was her version of kneeling. This was her opening the door. The next morning, I got a message from Allison. Allison. Danielle. That message, wow. I feel awful. I had no idea you saw things that way. I always thought you were Mom's favorite because you were the one with the good job, the apartment, the college degree. I figured you were the one she admired. My jaw dropped. Honestly, she continued, I was always a little jealous of how put together you were. I didn't know you felt left out. I just thought you didn't need anyone. Isn't it strange? We had both been carrying our own versions of the same pain. She, the golden child who felt like a failure in my shadow. Me, the forgotten one who felt invisible in hers. Neither of us knew the full picture. Because no one had ever made space for both of us to be seen. We made plans to meet for coffee. I didn't know what would come of it, but for once, I wasn't bracing myself for comparison. I just wanted to talk. Sister to sister. As for Mom, she started texting more, slowly. Asking about my job. Forwarding me articles she thought I'd like. Small gestures, clumsy at first, but real. There were no grand apologies. No dramatic changes overnight. But I had cracked open something. The silence was broken. And I was no longer the only one carrying the truth. The coffee shop we chose was halfway between my apartment and Allison's, neutral ground. I arrived first, nervous. I wasn't sure what kind of conversation we were going to have. Would she be defensive? Dismissive? Was this going to reopen the wound I had just barely started to air out? But when she walked in, something about her looked smaller. Not physically, but emotionally. Like the bright, chaotic energy she usually wore, like perfume had been dialed down. She gave me a quiet smile and said, "Hey." And for the first time in years, I felt like she wasn't performing. We sat, sipped lattes, and danced around small talk until finally, she looked me in the eyes and said, "I owe you more than a text." I didn't know about any of it. But when you said what you said, it clicked. So much of our childhood finally made sense. I felt a knot in my throat. She continued, "You know how Mom used to call you the responsible one and me, the creative spirit? I thought those were compliments. But now I realize it was a label. You got the weight. I got the whimsy." It was the first time she acknowledged the imbalance from her side. I didn't expect her to be that honest. And I didn't expect how much it would mean to me. I said, I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. "I know," she said. "I think it needed to be said. And I think we all needed to sit in the discomfort." We talked for 2 hours, about growing up, about our memories that didn't match, about how we'd both been shaped by the same house in such different ways. There were tears, some laughter, but mostly there was listening, real listening. Later that week, Mom called. Not texted, called. She asked if we could meet, just the two of us. I was hesitant, but I agreed. We sat on a park bench, near the lake she used to take us to as kids. She didn't bring notes or defenses. Just herself. "I've spent the past few days reading your message over and over," she said, "and remembering all the times you were there, and I wasn't. And you're right. I favored Allison, not because I loved her more, but because I thought you didn't need me. That was my mistake. A huge one." I looked at her, unsure of what to say. I was raised to believe that children who behave don't need attention. That the ones who struggle are the ones you pour into. But I see now that being quiet doesn't mean being okay. And I missed so much of what you were carrying. She paused. Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Danielle. For all the times I didn't see you." Tears came then, unexpected and warm. "I don't need perfection," I whispered. "Just effort. Just to be seen." "I'm going to try," she said. "I know it'll take time to rebuild, and I don't expect forgiveness overnight. But I don't want to keep making the same mistake." That was the beginning. We didn't become a perfect family overnight. There were still old patterns to break, awkward pauses in conversations, moments of backsliding. But something had shifted. At Christmas, Mom asked me to bring the lemon herb chicken and made sure everyone knew I'd cooked. She even asked for the recipe. At Allison's birthday in February, I gave her a framed photo of us from when we were kids, one where I was holding her hand as she cried on her first day of school. She teared up, said, "I forgot this even existed. You've always been there for me. I just didn't say it enough." I was no longer invisible, and not because I demanded attention, but because I claimed my truth. Speaking out wasn't about revenge in the petty sense. It wasn't about payback or public shaming. It was about reclaiming the space I had been denied. It was about ending the generational silence that says being the strong one means being unloved. It was about love, real love, the kind that grows through hard conversations, accountability, and the courage to say, "This hurt me." Sometimes, the deepest revenge isn't destruction. It's clarity. It's no longer begging for scraps at a table you helped set. It's building a new table and inviting others to sit with you, honestly. My name is Danielle Brooks, and I no longer confuse silence for peace. And for the first time in my life, I feel seen. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories.